Good morning, Year 9. So we're on to the next lesson of solving equations. So we're looking specifically today at forming equations. We're going to do some problems this week, and then we'll do a few more next week on forming equations, and that will be the end then of equations. So what do I mean by forming equations? Well, it's very unlikely in real life that you will be presented with an equation as it is, like one of these, okay? Often there'll be a problem, and from that problem you need to create an equation that you would then solve. So we need to practice just putting worded problems into equations. So our learning objectives is to be able to create equations from given information and be able to solve them. Okay, we're also going to look at a little bit this week, but a bit more next week, to be able to create equations for geometric problems and solve them. Okay, so before we get on to that though, just to sort of review what we've done so far, there are two questions written out here, okay, but both have got a mistake in them. Okay, so what I want you to do is to follow through the working and see if you can spot the mistake. You might find it easier just to do it yourself first and then compare your answer with these answers, and then you might spot the mistake. Okay, so press pause and have a go. Okay, if you've pressed play, then hopefully you've had a think about this and maybe done the questions. I personally always find it better to do the question myself and then come back and compare my answers, because it's quite easy to get convinced by somebody's mistake. Okay, so if we look at the first one, I'm going to do this in green. They've said that they're going to take away 5x. Well, that does make sense because we've got a 5x here. I need to subtract it. So when I take away 5x here, I get nothing, and I've still got the 23, so I'm happy with that. 7x take away 5x is 2x, I'm happy with that, and the minus 5 is there. So up to that point, I'm happy. Then they suggested taking away 5, so the 2x would stay. Minus 5 take away 5 is going to give me minus 10. So I've got a problem here because I need that to go to 0. So how would I normally get rid of negative 5? Well, I would add 5. So this is the mistake on this one. These should have been add 5. Okay, so if they were both add 5, what I would have ended up with is 2x equals 28. And then dividing both sides by 2, I would have ended up with x equals 14. Okay, so we spotted the mistake, they subtracted 5 and they should have added 5, and there's the final answer. Let's look at this one. So we've got 3x plus 11 on this side and 41 minus 2x. Now remember, you always look for the smallest number of x's. So I've got a 3x here and a negative 2x here. Now negative 2x is smaller, so I want to deal with that. How would I get rid of negative 2x? Well, I would add 2x to both sides. So there's the problem right there. They've subtracted, which won't take this to 0. Okay, so I need to be adding 2x to both sides. If I add 2x to both sides, I end up with 5x plus 11 equals 41. Okay, then I do subtract 11. So if we subtract 11 from both sides, we get that 5x equals 30. And we divide both sides by 5. And we get that x equals 6. Okay, so that mistake was right back at the beginning. So it's really good to do these questions where you're spotting mistakes. Firstly, it will help you to identify your own mistakes when you know you've got something wrong. And secondly, these are the type of questions that they are producing in GCSEs now to test your understanding. So it's good to practice. Right, let's move on to forming equations. So I've got two situations here, okay? And we're going to write equations for those. So it says, let the number you think of be x, and the question says, I think of a number, multiply it by 3, add 7, and the answer is 21. So if the number you think of is x, okay, see if you can write down an equation for that problem. Press pause and have a go, and then we'll go through the answer and see if you got it right. Okay, so if you've pressed play, then you're ready to have a look. So I think of a number x, I multiply it by 3. Well, x times 3 is 3x, so let's make that as 3x. I add 7, and the answer is 21. So when we're finding an answer, it's equals 21. So there is the equation for that one there. Okay, so press pause and have a go at the second one. Okay, so similarly, I think of a number, let's call it x. This one we add 7, and this one it says then we multiply by 3. So how do I show that I do the adding before the multiplying because of BIDMAS rules? Well, I would have to put brackets in to show that the adding has to be done before the multiplying. And the multiplying, remember, in algebra we normally put multipliers at the front of the brackets. So we've got 3 brackets x plus 7, and the answer is 21. So the two problems look similar. They both got multiplied by 3 and add 7 and an answer of 21, but the order that the multiply and add come in are different, and therefore that changes the problem. So there are those two equations to start with. So let's have a look at something a little bit more complicated. So it says, in 1 month, Dan sends X texts. Alex sends twice as many texts as Dan, and Chris sends 8 more texts than Alex, and in total they send 1,308 texts. Write an equation for this problem, and how many texts do they each send? So it's a bit like a logic problem, but we can get an equation for this. So let's start with Dan. Put D for Dan. We're told he sends X texts, so let's just put an X there. Then we have Alex. Now Alex sends twice as many texts as Dan. So if Dan did X, Alex would have to be 2x, because that's twice as many. And then we have Chris, and we're told Chris sends 8 more texts than Alex. So if it's 8 more, I would have to add 8 on. So Alex was 2x, so Chris must be 2x plus 8. So that's how many texts they each send. Now it says in total they send 1,308. So total means I need to add these together. So I've got x plus 2x plus 2x plus 8. So I collect the like terms together. Let's write that out first. So I've got x plus 2x plus 2x plus 8. Okay, that's my total, and I know that that is equal to 1,308. Now I want to collect my like terms together to keep this tidy. So I've got x, 2x and 2x, which is 5x plus 8 equals 1,308. So that's part A done. I've written the equation, and that's 5x plus 8 equals 1,308. So when you're writing equations, you need to leave it as simply as possible to collect like terms together. Now we've got the question, how many texts do they each send? Well, in order to answer that question, I need to know what x is worth. So let's solve this for x. Let's change colour. So I need to take 8 from both sides, and that gives me 5x equals 1,300. And then I need to divide by 5 to find x. Okay, so x into 13 goes twice, remainder 3. So 5 into 13 goes twice, remainder 3. 5 into 30 goes 6, and 5 into 0 is 0. So x is 260. So the question said, how many texts do they each send? So Dan sent x texts, so that Dan sent 260. Alex, we know, sent twice that, so I need to double 260, and that's going to be 520. And then Chris sent 8 more than Alex, so that's going to be 500 plus 8, which is 528. And if we add those up, they should add up to 1,308. So the key to this one is to write out each expression for each person carefully first, okay, and then read. Normally you have to total them, so add them together, make them equal to what it says they're equal to, collect your like terms together, and leave your equation nice and simply. Now we're going to look at a geometry question, okay. Now there is a Maths Watch assignment set on solving equations, and it has a question similar to this. So this is example 2. It says find the length of the side of this square. So I know this is a square. I know this length is 3x plus 4. I know this length is 5x minus 8. I don't know anything else. How on earth am I supposed to solve this? Well, this is where knowing your geometry facts is really important. So you do need to know about your regular polygons. You need to know about your angle rules. All of that is really important now. So what do I know about a square? Well, I know a square has equal sides. So I know this length here is exactly the same as this length here. So if that length is the same as that length, then I can say that 3x plus 4 must be the same as 5x minus 8. So there is my equation, okay? This must equal this, and I've written it as an equation. Now, to find the length of the side, I need to find x, so I'm going to solve this for x. So I'm going to take 3x off both sides, because that's the smallest number of x's. That leaves me with 4 on this side equals 2x minus 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So add 8 there, add 8 there to cancel that minus 8 out. Okay, and that leaves me with 4 add 8 is 12. Equals 2x, divide both sides by 2, and we get that x equals 6. So we get 6 on this side equals x. So if I know x equals 6, I now just need to put that in here. So 3 6's are 18, plus 4 is 22. So I know that side is 22. Let's double check that this gives me the same answer. 5 6's are 30, take away 8 is also 22. So I know I've got the right value. X is 6 and the length of the side is 22. Okay. So we've got some questions here for you to have a go at. These 4 are very similar to the first example. So as I said before, make sure, okay, actually the first 2 are like the very first example and the second 2 are like the second example, okay? So make sure with these ones that you list the people and their ages in terms of x before you try and add them up together. So press pause, have a go at those 4 questions, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, here's another set of questions. So the first question says, this is a rectangle here, okay? explain why 9x plus 12 equals 4x plus 47. And then it asks you to find x. And here we've got an isosceles triangle. So explain why 4x plus 15 equals 33 minus 2x. Find x. Then find the perimeter of the isosceles triangle. So remember, perimeter is all the way around the edge. So you'll need to use your x to find the lengths and then find the perimeter. So have a go at those two. Okay, and here's the answers for the first ones. So don't forget that for every question you needed an equation and the answer. So the equation for 1 is 5x minus 2 equals 58, and the answer is x equals 12. Question 2, the equation is x over 2 plus 1 is 7. So it says I think of a number, divide it by 2, then I add 1, and the answer is 7. So if we undo that, we get x is 12. Question 3, Gregory is x. So I've put an x on Gregory. Daisy is 2 years older, so she's x plus 2. Okay, the sum of their ages is 40. So your equation is 2x plus 2 equals 40, and that comes from adding these together. And if you solve that, you get x is 19. Okay, well we were told that Gregory was x, so Gregory is 19 and Hannah is 21, 2 years older. Last one of this type, we've got Robert is x years old, so there's Robert. Hannah is 7 years younger, so she is x take off 7, and the sum of their ages is 61. So the equation is 2x minus 7 equals 61, and that comes from adding those two together. And we solve that, we get x is 34, therefore Robert is 34 and Hannah is 27. Okay, last page. So we've got a rectangle here and it says explain why 9x plus 12 equals 4x plus 47. Well, we know it's true because opposite sides in a rectangle are equal, and these are opposite sides, so therefore they're equal. So if I solve that, I get x is 7. Then we've got the isosceles triangle. So explain why 4x plus 15 equals 33 minus 2x. So you might have put that an isosceles triangle has two equal sides. I've put it that it's the marked sides. These two symbols here tell you that you've got equal sides. So the marked sides are equal. So if I put that 4x plus 15 equals 33 minus 2x, you should calculate that x is 3. So then it says find the perimeter. So if I put 3 in each of these expressions, I get 27, 27 and 15, and that adds up to 69. Okay, so I hope you were able to do those. There is a Maths Watch assignment for you to have a go at, so please get that completed by the deadline, and then next week we'll do a little bit more on equations similar to this, form equations, and then that's the end of this topic. Okay, have a good rest of the week.